Yo, yo, welcome to Trippy Commentaries and our WWE Raw reactions. We are only 2 weeks away from one of my personal favorite pay-per-views of the year, Hell in a Cell. And this year, it will include the ex-Shield members, Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins. Will they be facing off with one another? Surprisingly, we would find out the answer to that question tonight on Raw. I'm RJ, joining up with Retro Brett.
Yo, yeah, I definitely agree with RJ. I mean, anyone who's listened to Raw reactions knows that I like these kind of matches and just anything other than a standard one-on-one match. So
yeah,
this is right down my alley, this pay-per-view.
It's my personal favorite. I've always been a fan of cage matches, so that's why I love Hell in a Cell. We're also joined up by Matt. Matt, what do you think about the upcoming Hell in a Cell pay-per-view? We don't want to give out, of course, who we'll see facing off quite yet, but I'm sure you're pretty excited.
Man, I am very excited. I just want to say I appreciate you guys having me on here. And it definitely was an exciting night tonight in Hotlanta. We got some results tonight where we're going to find out who is going to be facing off in the cell at Hell in a Cell. So I'm excited to talk about this with you guys.
Oh, definitely.
Definitely.
And we're happy to have you there, Raspo.
Absolutely. Matt, like the rest of us here, Trippy Commentaries, is a longtime wrestling fan, so he brings a lot of knowledge to the conversation here, and I think you guys will really enjoy that. But without further ado, let's kick it off with who else?
Absolutely.
Dean Ambrose. Gotta be surprised that Ambrose is really stepping up as one of the #1 guys here on Raw. We don't have Lesnar around, so you gotta have guys like Cena and in this case Dean Ambrose really take over as these guys who's got to take up a lot of time in big segments. And sure enough, who kicks it off? Dean Ambrose. I thought he did a great job. We saw Cena come out shortly after, and it was one of those cool, you know, reminds me of a boxing match, how the guys kind of bicker and get in this fight just to lead up to the fight itself. I thought it was actually a pretty good job at these guys getting under each other's skin, and I'm getting excited for a matchup between the two of them.
Oh, yes, but, yeah, like you said, Ambrose does a great job. They're really pushing him as a good guy. And, you know, I like that.
He's unstable.
I don't like the fact that he's going against my boy Cena, but hey.
It's a good matchup, though. Good matchup of different styles, you know. You have one guy who's a little rough around the edges, and then you have Dean Ambrose. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Hey, what the hell, man? No, but I wanted to touch, you mentioned Lesnar, and I got to mention the absence of Paul Heyman for the second week in a row.
True. Good call, Retro Brett. Guy I love to see kick off Raw. I actually was expecting to see Brock Lesnar or possibly, like you said, Paul Heyman come out early on. Didn't happen tonight. With that intro that led up to the Raw, I think we knew that we would be seeing Dean Ambrose quite a bit once again. But it was a good intro, like I said. Sure enough, we saw the Authority, Triple H, and Stephanie come out. And they made a huge announcement. They announced that, first of all, they were kind of messing with the duo there of John Cena and Dean Ambrose, kind of saying they're afraid of one another. It's all mind games.
Stirring up the pot.
Obvious mind games.
Oh, yeah.
But they did announce a triple threat tag team match. So they threw them in the ring as tag team members against Golden Stardust as well as the Usos. So a pretty big announcement. This match actually started right away. Matt, what'd you think about the intro and just the beginning of tonight's Raw? Like I said, only 2 weeks away from Hell in a Cell. I thought this night almost kind of put a little bit of steroids on that pay-per-view. All of a sudden, there's a lot of excitement that really kind of came about on this episode of Raw.
Yes, sir, definitely. When Dean Ambrose came out, like you guys had mentioned here, they really gave it to him. They allowed him to take control of the show and bring excitement to the opening, and I thought he did an excellent job. When John Cena came out, he cut his typical promo, Fight Till You Die, and as you said, the Authority came out then and announced this match, which was a triple threat tag match. It's kind of weird, and found it kind of surprising in this match because they only had 2 people in at a time. So it's kind of like you had 2 face teams versus 1 heel team, and it was kind of strange.
It was a unique match. Of course, 3 great tag teams,
yes.
if you want to count Ambrose and Cena as a tag team.
Well, they were tonight for this match, but yeah, I kind of agree with Matt there. I thought it was weird. I mean, how is it different than a triple threat normal match? You can have 3 guys in there. Mm-hmm. There's no problem with that. But
and that's what I thought would happen, but they went a different route with it.
Okay, well,
still a good match.
It's very, very. Mm-hmm. We haven't seen a triple threat tag team match in quite a while, so that was a unique kind of match. Mm-hmm. And Dean Ambrose and Cena coexisted pretty well for that match, at least.
Yeah.
But,
well, it seems like they would be a good team if it wasn't for the Authority forcing them to go off on one another. It's actually pretty smart from the Authority's point of view because they want those guys to knock each other around.
Oh, yeah.
That way, one of them loses to Seth Rollins.
No one's ever accused Triple H of being dumb. I mean, he is the cerebral assassin.
So after the big match went down, everybody, of course, was probably pretty tired after this. We had Dean Ambrose and John Cena in the middle of the ring. The Authority came out and announced that the plans for them to fight off at the pay-per-view, you could scratch that. They are being changed, and those guys would match up tonight on Raw. Very interesting. I thought it made sense. In fact, I was a little bit kind of curious on how they were pulling off the match and then the Hell in a Cell all in one night. So now they move it up so that way we know what's going to go down. We had this Randy Orton situation, which we'll get into here shortly. But as far as them announcing, Matt, that match tonight, it surprised me a little bit here and, of course, got me excited for the main event, which was a contract on a pole match that we got to see later on.
It surprised me too, and I thought it was really awesome, actually, how they moved it up, because I was wondering the exact same thing you were. How are they going to pull off 2 big matches in one night? And they decided to do this, and I liked it.
Yeah, absolutely, and it really made tonight's Raw legit.
Oh yes, yeah. I think they realize, it sometimes happens where a wrestler will perform a couple times in a night, but usually it's like a battle royal and then a real match.
Yeah,
like back in WrestleMania, Daniel Bryan, he had a battle royal, then a couple of real matches, but
of course we remember that one. Where instance where you have Daniel Bryan having a face-off with Triple H, and then they made this big to-do about where he was probably supposed to lose to Triple H, or at least that's what Triple H expected, and then he goes on to win and eventually get the title. So you do see it in pay-per-views quite a bit. They decide to go a different route. Later on we'll talk about the big main event and who won. Who could actually win this match? Who could get the contract on a pole? To the surprise of nobody, the Authority actually decided to involve themselves, so it really turned into a clusterfuck. What do you think about this Randy Orton versus Dolph Ziggler situation, where Randy Orton's kind of how you wanted Retro Brett? You wanted him to start coming out as a force to be reckoned with here. Seemed to be the case. He faced off with Dolph Ziggler, one of the most impressive fighters in the WWE.
Well, this match was a really, really good match. Featured a lot of super moves and power moves, and a lot of near falls. It was a great match. But then again, most people have good matches with Dolph Ziggler.
Oh, that's his gimmick. As far as he can just make anybody look great, and that's why Dolph is one of all of our favorites. Matt, you have anything to add to this matchup? As Randy Orton trying to come off as a powerhouse, Dolph Ziggler did a good job at making him look great.
I thought it was an excellent match. It was back and forth, all around great wrestling. When Orton ended it, it was amazing. I thought that was a really cool way to finish it. He literally threw Ziggler up in the air vertically and then RKO'd him, which is a little bit of a variation from what he typically does. And also keep in mind, we had Cesaro out at the announce table trying to gain some character, gain something out there.
Yeah, I don't think that Cesaro did a great job on the mic, unfortunately. This is why they gave him Heyman to begin with, is he does need a good manager, which are slim to none nowadays in the WWE, especially now that he loses Heyman. Yeah, I agree, Matt. But nonetheless, he's also trying to come off as a power. Don't know if any of us believe him. He's one of my favorite wrestlers. I really like his style and his paralysis. But we need to see him get out there and defeat one of these big-time wrestlers, possibly Randy Orton, possibly even Dolph Ziggler. So he was out there to do commentary with both of those guys in the ring. I think it's pretty obvious we could see Cesaro facing off with one or both of them in the near future. Seth Rollins versus Jack Swagger. Swagger came out with our guy Zeb Coulter. Seth Rollins, man, he's a dirty fighter here, Retro Brett. He gets the win, but he's got a reputation as possibly one of the most dirtiest fighters around at this point.
Well, he's a bad guy, and, you know, the way to build a bad guy and make him even more bad is have him do underhanded tactics. And I don't think anyone expected Jack Swagger to win this match because, obviously, they're not pushing Swagger right now. But I thought it was another pretty good match. It was better than I thought it would be. But obviously, Rollins won the match.
Yep.
What say you, Raspo?
Yeah, Raspo, I actually been wanting to ask you on just what you think about Seth Rollins in general right now. I know he's one of the more popular wrestlers, got a great attitude, and I really kind of relate to him. Even though he's a heel, I feel like he's one of those guys we can all relate to. What do you think about Seth Rollins right now heading into Hell in a Cell and really just the future of the WWE?
I really like Seth Rollins, RJ. I actually didn't like him when he was on the Shield. I just thought he was the weakest of the three. And when he broke out on his own, I really started to gain an affection for this guy. He works real hard. He's a great wrestler. He's technical and he's high-flying, so he's an all-around great wrestler, in my opinion. And, you know, like we've been talking about, he brings a certain excitement to the WWE for the heels that I don't think many have been able to do in the past few years. So that's really cool to see. We want to also mention here with that Ziggler-Orton match, the whole reason Seth came out there at the end was to curb stomp Ziggler and kind of show up Orton a little bit. And then he had his match with Swagger. So the Swagger-Rollins match ended in Orton coming back down after going to the back to put on a T-shirt, I guess. and he came back out, and after Seth Rollins won his match by holding on to Swagger's tights and kind of winning dirty a little bit, building his character. Orton comes in and RKO's Swagger. So now we have this building Rollins-Orton tension. So we'll see what happens with that. That's really interesting to me, though.
It really is. Definitely, that's for sure. And I didn't really see that coming, because for a while they were kind of buddies, or whatever you want to call them. I guess kind of forced to be so, just because they're in the authority. But I agree with you, Matt, about what you said. I thought that Seth Rollins was the least impressive guy in the Shield, though they were pushing him as the architect of the Shield. To me, it was like, man, without Roman Reigns and the Madman Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins wouldn't be much. But, of course, our resident Seth Rollins fan, Retro Brett, was pushing him to us. He would say, guys, Seth Rollins, I'm telling you, don't sleep on him. He's going to be a force to be reckoned with sometime soon. And now I really think we can all see that, you know, why Seth Rollins was the architect of the Shield, because he's great on the mic. He's an impressive wrestler all the way around. We'll be covering WWE 2K15 for you guys in depth from day one. And he might be the first guy I try to wrestle with. I can't wait to play with him. He's going to be an awesome character, great finishing moves. I'm going to try to get you with the curb stomp. We play that, Retro Brad. We definitely can't wait to play that for you guys. The Big Show versus Rusev. This was a much hyped event here. We all know that the Big Show tore down Rusev's flag, the Russian flag, which, if you think about it, does kind of make sense. I'm not sure if it's for real that Russia was kind of outraged about that, but you can't really mess around with someone's flag.
That's
yeah,
too far,
that's not cool. No, we wouldn't want to see anybody do that with the American flag. I mean, we definitely take care of the American flag, and Russia deserves the same respect. So I'm not sure if that was part of the gimmick. Yeah, part of the storyline.
America, but
anyways, Big Show needed to have some sensitivity training. He made his return into the ring to face off with Rusev. I was really looking forward to this match. In fact, other than the huge main event, this was one that I was extremely excited to see. Another Trippy commentator that you guys all know, Mike, he's a big fan of both Rusev and Big Show, so he showed up just to watch that match in general. And Rusev came out as the Force once again, really doing the same kind of thing he did to Mark Henry, getting him in the camel clutch. It looked like it was over. Mark Henry came out, eventually got him for a DQ here. So Rusev is not stopped once again. They do get a sucker punch on him. I know Big Show, he's been knocking people out cold with that haymaker lately. He got a pretty good punch off on Rusev after the match. So they did get to stand over. I'm talking about Mark Henry and the Big Show. They got to stand over over Rusev here in dominance. But as far as the match itself, Rusev looked great. I do want to point out the Big Show did get a nice slam maneuver on Rusev, but that camel clutch has been too destructive.
Big Show started out the match manhandling Rusev.
Yep.
But then the tides turned, and I think Big Show only got a few offensive maneuvers in at that point. But it was a standard big man match, very slow paced. A lot of power moves, but I don't know. What do you think about this match, Raspo?
Rusev remains undefeated, Matt.
Yep, and you know what? Even though he remains undefeated, there was something kind of inherent to Atlanta tonight where the crowd was doing tomahawk chop, all of them, and then the Big Show was really tomahawking the crap out of Rusev for the first part of the match, like Brett said. And I thought Big Show was going to take this one, or at least have a chance and something going on. And unfortunately, he couldn't do it. So Rusev put him in the accolade. And then we had Mark Henry come to the ring, of course. And, Rusev broke the hold to go hit Mark Henry off of the ring. And then Henry came back up and tried to get his revenge, unfortunately costing Big Show the match. So
yeah, hey, great match. We'll see who can take out Rusev. We saw The Rock come out last week. Perhaps The Rock makes a comeback to actually end Rusev's undefeated streak. We all know that would be incredibly epic. I know both of us got goosebumps when The Rock came out last week. Hopefully it's not the last we see of him. We just want to quickly touch on the Sheamus Miz matchup here. Clever win by The Miz. We saw plenty of Damian Mizdow out there with his antics. I guess he was duplicating The Miz's moves.
All his moves.
His injuries, his every move.
Yeah, so
pulling on his own beard at one point.
Yeah. Sneaky win by The Miz. I don't think this is the last we'll see of this rivalry here. I look for Sheamus to get a revenge match here sometime soon. And congratulations to The Miz as he defeats Sheamus. Never easy. At the end of Raw Reactions, we got to talk about this big contract on a pole match. Dean Ambrose versus John Cena. Epic matchup. The Authority got involved, which really made it crazy. It made it so we didn't see a true John Cena versus Dean Ambrose showdown here. There was too much else going on. But in the end, Dean Ambrose ended up on that pole with the contract. It was hilarious how he did the "you can't see me" to John Cena. And you've seen Ambrose actually win here. Get the contract, which means he's going to face off with Seth Rollins, Hell in a Cell, and a match we've seen time and time again, Retro Brett, John Cena versus Randy Orton. I mean, come on.
John Cena, Randy Orton, number 53? I don't know, man.
But what'd you think about the match?
It's going to be in Hell in a Cell this time.
Yeah, true.
Because it was postulated earlier in the night by Randy Orton that he would get the person or the individual not facing Seth Rollins. So that's how the match came about.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, you know, Authority involved themselves in the match. Like we touched on this last week, it seems the main events in Raw for the past several years haven't been really main events. Someone always interferes, so it's not really a true winner.
Happened again tonight.
But I'm glad that Dean Ambrose gets to face Seth Rollins, because I think he has way more right to face him than John Cena does. I mean, Seth Rollins curb stomped his head on some cinder blocks, or clay blocks as they actually were. But so I think he has a right to face him.
Yeah, that's for sure, and we'll see it. Thank you guys for joining us for another episode of Raw Reactions. Make sure to stay tuned as we have a huge pay-per-view coming up. We'll cover everything for you in depth. Matt, thanks for joining us. Anything else you want to add as we leave off for another episode to a pretty big main event? And now we know what we'll see as far as the biggest events in Hell in a Cell.
I just want to say thank you guys for having me, and keep an eye on my boys, the Wyatt family. There were a couple promos tonight that were focusing on Eric Rowan. We saw some about Luke Harper recently, so keep an eye on them.
That's for sure, guys. Stay trippy and stay tuned to our Raw Reactions. We have a big Hell in a Cell preview coming soon. Peace out.
Stay trippy, y'all.
Regardless of your finesse, your business is a condition of business. Your lane isn't